Good afternoon. Hi, my name is Ashna and today I'm gonna present in this presentation focuses on how day beards can improve their decision making and risk management over the next 3 to 5 years. Here's my table of content which I'm gonna present in the slides: introduction, why the risk matters, and the risk framework or their benchmarking. Recommendation, risk metrics, and the register and risk mitigation strategy, business impact and analysis or conclusion reference. Here's the introduction. First is the mission statement of DWare, which is our purpose is to make life brilliant. And I also add two graphs for explanation of introduction. First one is annual revenue and second one is for prediction. So for annual revenue, this graph shows the DBR revenue from 2019 to 2023. Revenue was about $4.9 in 2019 and fell to 3.4 Ben in 2020 at around 6.6 Ben in 2022 before dropping about 4.3 Ben in 2023. This show the revenue of very sensitive of the global luxury demand and in economic cycle. Another one is the production one. They show the million carat. In this graph, they show demand production of 2029 to 2023. Production was about 30.8 billion in 2020, right? And there's a drop down around to 24.7 billion in 2020. Then they increase about 32.4 million in 2021 and they touched the peak near 32 billion in 2022 before easing to about 32 million in 2023. They show the production change over time, but if demand is fall, it can still lead to inventory pressure. So here is a why risk matters. Risk is very matters in every business or everywhere in firm. So there's a support capital allocation, reports, risk analysis, support, strategy, decision on mine life, extension and exploration. Another one is the protection optional continuity, which is the protective identification of the hazardous ensure to zero harm community or the practical protection workforce safely and the critical minimize assets. Right. And the third one is for ensure compliance and the reputations, which is an important part of every business. The systematic framework for allow organization to navigate how complex and regulate environment and protect the provision guarantees. Third one is to is prepare for market shocks. So it is the anticipating that the FX volatility and the luxury demand cycle, which is reliance against external commodity price shocks. So next is the risk management for the framework. The risk management of framework, which is a very important for every business. The first one is IOS 31000 principle, which is process integration. They show the intimation of risk management and directly into all strategies and for decision making processes. Adopt of the integrity structure and the processes and ensure the continuity of monitoring and the review or the inspection of every business. The another one is for the ERM integration, which is also called the COSO or PWC. A strategy and the performance aligns organization risk appetite with long-term strategy goals, right? And the integrates risk report with performance management and metrics. It stabilizes with the governance and the protective risk culture. Third one is the benchmarking practices, which is important. We as the minimize the best practices. So control, which is important in every business. So implies criticize control management, which is also called CCM for a fatal risk. And the governance. Governance is conduct quality risk review and the comparable to Anglo-American standards. The other one is their reporting, ESG and the safety and all. So other next one is the strategy and recommendation. First one is the scenario based capital planning. Strategy test big investment and the decision against luxury demand drop and the price volatility, which is very important. For so DBear invest at the right time and avoid overspending in boom period. Second was is critical control management. So focus on the most important and the safely operation control and verify them. Third one is supply chain and control tower. Create real-time visibility across logistics to make faster, reduce bottlenecks and the responsible quick disruptions. So fourth one is the cyber reliance and the provenance. The straighten and the cyber security to protect the customer trust, which is good, which make a relationship with customer of good relationship with customer and the reduce risk data of the benches. The fifth one is the marketing sensing and the dynamic planning. Use stronger demand signal to adjust the production and the assortment faster. So inventory build up, reduce margin and stay more stable downturn. Here's a risk matrix of the TBR groups. What is risk matrix? Risk matrix is a tool to use, identify and the assess and prioritize the risk, which and it's compare two key factor, which is probability and the impact. And you know the colors, about the colors, there's a green, which is green is a low risk. They show the low risk of the company, and the yellow one is a amber or a medium risk of the company, and the red one is a higher risk of every company. This is a higher risk likelihood like high impact on the company. Okay, so here's the risk registrations. First one is a market demand and downturn, which is global luxury demand in high critical and could serious impact on the sales volume and the prices. You can see the scores and the owner and the probability of their graph. So next one is a lab ground competition. Yes, lab ground is the compare of earth mine. The lab ground diamond is LGD offer a cheap alternative, which is potential to ensure natural diamond market share in bridal segment. There is a risk of the scarcity value propositions. Other ones are inventory build up, mismatch, miniming output, and the site holder demand can lead to be costly inventory stock pillars. And the other one is the operational safety or their regulatory and ESG or the supply chain distributions or the cyber uh, traceability or their reputation of ethics. You can see their risk, the minimum risk, which is the operational strategy or their supply chain distribution. And the yellow one, you can see there's an inventory buildup or their regulatory ESG. And there's a too high risk, which is the market demand downturn and the lab ground competition. Yeah. So another one, next one is the risk mitigation strategy. Risk mitigation strategy, same as the before. You can see the higher risk is as same as market demand and downturns and the lab ground competitions. There's a two green color you show, which is score 1 and the 1.20. The operational safety is 1 point and the supply chain distribution, which is 1.20. There's a medium risk, low risk, and there's a yellow, which is inventory buildup or regulatory ESG, and the supply traceability or the reputation and ethics. They show the low risk in the company. Another one. So here's a business impact analysis and the critical assets of the DBA company. There's a assessment of the critical infrastructure and data recovery objectives. So there is the first one is the automation and mining systems, which as type is both physical and digital. Description: automation, underground drilling, and the whole system. There's a control, extraction, and efficiency and the safety of the production of volume of the diamonds. The RTO is 4 hours, and the recovery staff is the engineers and the IT teams. Second one is a tracker platform, which is software, which is blockchain based prevents platform ensuring an end-to-end traceability of the diamonds critical for G7 sensation compliance and the proving ethical origin. And its RTO take 2 hours, and the recovery staff is blockchain or IT securities. Third is the site holder data, which type is a digital data, and the confidential profit, credit rating, and past purchasing history of the site holder. This is the sensitive data of the determined allocation and the pricing of the metrics of every volume of diamonds. So is RTO is 4R and there's a staff, recovery staff is IT security and compliance team. Fourth is a recovery plant equipment and the type is hardware. There's a X-ray transmission, XRT, and the dense media separation, DMS, and the machinery at processing plant, which is uh, complete give like hardware, which is the machinery, dense media trans. This is separate diamond from one contraction to failure stop output. So it take the 12 hour because it take long hour because they put a machinery system on that and they separate the diamond from like failure stops or their contractions or a contraction to different type. And there's a recovery staff which is plant maintenance and the ops teams. So fifth one is a secure supply chain. Secure supply chain type is a supply chain networks, which is integrate the secure logistic network, force and the road transport or the moving rough diamonds from mineral to integration centers. Like there's a DBR group in London. So there's a RTO, it's take 48 hours. And there's a IT securities and the logistic team of the recovery staff. So other is here's a conclusion. To conclude, the main message of the presentation is that DBA must straight its risk management to support faster and better decision making over next 3 to 5 years because the diamond market is export demand cycle, lab ground competition, ESG pressure, and growing technology and supply chain risk. There should be following the scenario planning and the critical control or their supply chain. Right, so there's a scenario planning strategy operation and the reliance, which is the implementation is a scenario based capital planning and the pre-demand stress of the testing, navigate market or downturn to luxury demand, which is a effective cycle. And there's a critical control which is deployed predictive safely and the analytics or the regenerates and the critical control management CCM to ensure to operational quantity continuity and zero harm target. And supply chain is to stabilize the supply chain control inventory and the management or the traceability from the milling. So here's a references of the DBA groups or whole of the presentations.